history of Saint Paul is very unclear to us. Many people think it as a fable, while others as a fact. But according to the reports, Saint Paul was born in Egypt, and there he was orphaned at the age of 15. Saint Paul was known to be a young, devoted, and a learned man. At the time of persecution of Decius in Egypt in the 250 AD, he was forced to hide in one of his friend's house. But fearing that a brother-in-law of his would betray him, Saint Paul fled into a cave in the desert. His plan was to return back home after the persecution was over. But the sweetness of solitude and the heavenly contemplation convinced him to stay. He went on to live in the cave for the rest 90 years of his life. In the first 21 years of solitude, a bird, preferably a raven, used to bring Saint Paul half a loaf of bread. Along with it, a spring nearby provided him water, palm trees gave him food and clothing. Without knowing what was happening around the world, Saint Paul prayed that the world would become a better place. Saint Anthony of Egypt attested to this holy life and death of Saint Paul. Tempted by the thought that no one else had served God in the wilderness more than Saint Paul did, he was led by God to find Saint Paul and to even acknowledge him as a man more perfect than Saint Anthony himself was. That day, the raven bought a whole loaf of bread instead of the usual half. But Saint Paul knew that Saint Anthony was a servant of God sent to him to bury his body after his death. At the ripe age of 112, Saint Paul entered into eternal bliss. Saint Paul was also known as the First Hermit, and his feast day is celebrated in the East. He is also commemorated in the Coptic and the Armenian rites of the Mass. From the life of Saint Paul, we get to know that the will and the direction of God occurs to us at various times of our lives, at various circumstances. By the grace of God, we are free to choose the path that will bring us close to Him and make us dependent on Him. But these choices may result in separating us from our loved ones. But it will bring us back to them with prayer and in fellowship. So, always trust God in whatever you do, because God always plans for our good.
Holy Trinity, one God,
have mercy on us.
Holy Mary,
pray for us.
Saint John the Baptist,
pray for us.
Saint Peter,
pray for us.
Saint Paul,
pray for us.
Saint Matthew,